Welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast. And on this week's Property Education Masterclass, we've got Fatima and Laura, the trailblazers in property, two property professionals. They're going to be talking to us all about their journey in serviced accommodation, where they were, how they've got to where they are today. There's loads of interesting and juicy stuff in between, so stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. I'm really excited. Here we go. I'm here with Fats and Laura. Thanks for coming on the show. I am excited for this episode.
Oh gosh, expectations.
I am. I've got a feeling we're going to get into some pretty juicy stuff just from chatting to you a little bit before we started.
Always.
It's going to be honest. It's going to be deep. It's going to be the truth behind business, working together as family, the dynamic, how that works. I'm really excited. Two sisters.
No.
Not sisters?
No.
You're not sisters?
No.
We're different ethnicities.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why did I think you were sisters?
We get it a lot, don't worry.
Can we edit that?
No,
it's good.
because a lot of people think it. So.
Yeah.
Two best friends.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Got it right the second time. Two best friends in property, trailblazing. I'm seeing a lot of you guys around on social media doing some really cool stuff. I want to know the whole story from the beginning, the journey to where you are today. Let's start, first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming on. Let's start a little bit about where it all began.
Okay.
So, first of all, how did you two meet? Does it go back to childhood? Was you at school together? Where's the connection come from?
No, we met at the gym.
Yeah.
You met at the gym?
Pumping iron.
I'm getting everything wrong on this podcast. So when did that start? When did
What
you
was that,
guys
like 10, 12
connect?
years ago?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. It's been a long time.
10, 12 years ago.
And it was actually my ex-husband that introduced us.
Yeah. Laura's
so-
the typical at the gym resting bitch face.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's one
This
of
is
my
good.
Yeah.
Rest in
Whereas
peace.
I'm just like, I'll talk to everyone. You will talk to me.
So you met at the gym.
Yeah.
At that, and when was this? How far
Was
back
that like
ago?
10, 12 years ago now?
Yeah, about 10, 12 years
10,
ago.
12 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And what were you doing individually then before you met?
So I've been in the aesthetics industry now. So now it's coming up to about 24 years that I've been doing that.
Okay.
So it was very, very different to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And at the time you were still working, you were
I
at
was
a different
in
company.
HR, so my background's HR, and then I've specialised into reward at a range of pharmaceutical companies.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll be completely honest with you. I'll tell you why I got the start completely
Go on.
inside out,
Okay.
upside down. Normally, I do prep for the podcast.
Yeah.
I chose not to for this one
Yeah.
because I wanted to keep it all for the podcast.
Yeah. But
So
you-
I've got a bit of a rough idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know the business you're in. I know you're doing some great things.
Yeah.
But I wanted it all to come out within the podcast.
I think you've
So,
said what people think.
Yeah.
so that's a
which
common,
is great.
Is that a
Yeah,
common
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
misconception?
definitely.
Even though I'm Pakistani and she's white, but it's fine.
Yeah.
There's
We take it.
maybe it's because
Or we get there.
It's
Which
our
one are
vibe.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe it's because, and I think that's why a lot of people are going to be interested in this podcast, is because you're quite unique in the dynamic here, in the setup, right? So normally, looking at you from the outside, that would be my go-to. I would think that you were sisters because it's quite unique to have two, friends, two women as well come together in business, which I think is what makes you really stand out.
Yeah, there's a lot of things with women, isn't there? And they're
Yeah.
always competitive. And I think that's why we
Yeah.
get on so well, because we are always supportive of each other.
Yeah.
And everyone else judges us and may have their
Right.
opinions, but
Yeah.
we're
I
different.
think we've had similar experiences growing up with other people, and that's how we kind of unite together, because neither of us we're competitive, but with other people. It's not women we compete with. So we compete in industries and in life and things like that. So we're very supportive of people around us, but I think we've just experienced a lot of negativity from you're judged, aren't you? Yeah,
We're definitely judged.
And I think people think you're slightly thick. You're young.
So let's dive into that a little bit, because obviously, this is quite a widely discussed topic in the world, women in business being held back. So are you saying that in your journey so far, and obviously we'll get into that and talk about exactly what you're doing today, where you started, where you're going to, what's the vision, but are you saying that up till now at least you've definitely felt some pushback being women in business compared to maybe your male counterparts?
Yeah, I think we've got to be really careful actually. I think because the thing is,
Easy.
You get how we look as well.
Yeah.
People perceive us in a certain way. And I think even our friends and family, it wasn't until we hosted a New Year's Eve party at our penthouse that people actually turned up and they were like, oh, Laura and Fatima aren't here to play. Like, they're actually achieving things. Right. And it shocked them. Because it was like Laura and
you get a lot
thing,
of,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and in the industry, I think because it's a very male-dominated industry, corporate generally is, especially property, that is more so. And then you have the few women that have done really, really well, but the percentage of women in comparison to men, and then when you're in this industry and you start with nothing and you're looking for investors and you're looking for investment and you attract the wrong attention,
Interesting.
you have to be so cautious about that. And we've turned down investors previously because we don't get the right vibe.
Probably like 90% of investors
because we're not in our 20s. You know, Laura's younger. I'm 40. I'm nearly 43.
I'm 36.
Yeah, I'm a mother of 3. I've got a 23.
You both look phenomenal.
Thank you.
You do.
But so, you know, I've got a 23-year-old daughter, and I just think half the time when people talk about who are you talking to?
So let's go back a little bit. You know, we'll get to that part. Obviously, you know, you're growing the business, you're going to be bringing in investors. We'll tackle that, and no doubt you've had some experiences. But going back to the gym, so you meet up first time, you start chatting, you build a friendship. You're both doing your individual careers, your individual industries. Was there any property related anything at that point, or
No, just parents.
just parents? That was the common kind of denominator.
Yeah, there wasn't any. We'd never discussed it really, had we? There was not. It was just my parents are doing their own thing. Laura's parents have been doing their own thing as well.
Yeah.
But it's never become like a family business. It's just individual people.
Okay.
But then,
It was literally just a social thing.
Yeah, I think you had an interest for it first, didn't you? Whereas I knew I wanted to go into property, and for me, I was saving. So I'd come out of a marriage, and then I was basically just like, right, I need to buy a house. So it'd been years and years I was building my credit report, and then I was just saving for a deposit. Yep. So for me, I was working nearly 60 hours a week.
Wow.
Hardly seeing the kids. And just...
You're on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep up.
I think we were both on the hamster wheel, like working crazy hours.
Yeah.
We both wanted to own a house, but for ourselves, I think we were both naive to how you can have a house and all the other property options.
Yeah. Yeah.
And geographically, you're in one of the most expensive parts of the country.
Yeah.
Right? You're in Cambridge, big money, big prices, very hard to get on the ladder.
Yeah.
We was discussing that earlier. I think the average house, first time buyer now in London anyway, is probably mid-50s, I think, is what I heard on the radio. Is out of control. So you're at this stage where you wanted to get on the property ladder. You don't quite know how. You come together. So how does it begin? How do you get from the gym to, you know, starting this serviced accommodation business and where you are today? So what's that journey look like? Whose idea was it?
My idea to begin with. So my parents had started building a house for their retirement. So I'd started sort of exploring property, trying to see tax benefits, just to try and help them out really a little bit. Came across Progressive and went to a Masopi, as a lot of people have started their journey. Found serviced accommodation, and with my corporate world, I've done a lot of travelling. So Japan, Hong Kong, China, America. So I've been the other side. I've been the guest. Yeah. So I knew what worked well, what didn't, and I thought, this is something that's got variety. It's got, you know, you've got the staging, you've got the setups. You can still use your brain. Started doing it, and I was like, this is a lot. And then I was like, who would be a great business partner? The only person I could think of was Fatima, because we gel so well. We've both got a really great work ethic. So I asked her, and she didn't even really know what I was talking about, and just went, yeah.
Yeah. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I think I was just... I'm always like designated driver, so I was dropping her home. We'd been out. Yeah. And she just said, so I've started this business. I haven't done anything. I've done the training. I've registered a name, but we can change it, so don't worry.
So you drank about 5 bottles of wine. You was waffling about this business idea.
No, she's not actually a big drink. No, she's not a big drinker. But there was a few of us, wasn't there? Yeah. And her and I just sat in the car outside.
Into the house, and it was just me and Fats in the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, spent a lot of money on some training.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've done
And I hadn't told anybody else.
Okay, so you've done the initial training by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it'd been about 3 months, hadn't it? Or was it less than that?
I think it
That you were
was probably a
sitting on it.
couple
Yeah.
that I was just sort of like having a mini meltdown about the money that I'd spent and done a bit positive procrastination, somebody called it once, where, you know, you set up the company name, you start looking at your website. And
Yeah.
3 weeks choosing a company name.
Yeah. So, it got to that point and I was just kind of feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, there are gaps in my skill set, which Fatima has got those opposite skills, but then we've also got similar skills and style as well, which is fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, right? Because so many people, I was having this conversation the other day, so many people come together in business, but they don't realise how important it is to be able to complement each other's weaknesses.
Yeah.
And a lot of people come together with the exact same skill sets. And then they trying
clash
to,
on the
and
lines. Yeah.
and well, that, but also they're not filling the gap for the weakness.
Yeah.
So you two complement each other really well in that respect.
Well, she just said it to me, didn't you? And I just went, yeah, okay.
And it's just that trust that we still have that trust. And that's our priority
and I think
with
the
everything.
next day, so I remember we were deadlifting and she said to me, she was like, oh, so kind of spent this amount of money. I went, oh, like, what the shit has she done? And I generally thought, oh, gosh, she's in a pyramid scheme. I thought she'd joined a pyramid scheme. Like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, literally. But you were still down for it. You were
I was like,
I'm supportive.
And then she was like, you need to go and do Masopi. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, it's 3 days. And you nagged me for a while, didn't you? And I was like, I don't understand what service accommodation means. I'm quite a practical learner. That's how I learn. So I have to do the whole experience. I can't read off a textbook and go, right, I got it. Let's go. So
you're more of like a visual, you need to be in it, feeling it.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was like, and you were saying it to me for a while, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then I think, in the end, I was like, right, I'll go. I can't go the Friday though, so I'll go the Saturday and the Sunday because I've got to take Izzy to the hospital. My youngest has all sorts of like health issues, so I was like, I'll take him to the hospital, so I've got to go Saturday, Sunday. She was like, you should do the 3 days, but okay. And then I was like, oh, I'll bring my son with me as well. So I mean, we came. And you said, didn't you? You were like,
I was like, don't take
your credit card.
She was like, take your credit card.
Yeah. And I was like...
And then she rang me about 2 hours later, like,
I brought the credit card.
Yeah.
She was like, I might have brought it.
Might have signed up.
Okay.
She was like, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. And the thing is, you will never meet anyone as kind of, not negative, but cautious as my son. He's very good with like money.
How old's your son?
He's 20 now.
Oh, wow.
So he's very much so like, no, Mum. And when he heard one of the speeches, was it Kevin McDonald? I think when Kevin was talking and he just went, no, it was Kate, when Kate was talking and he just went, you could do that. He was like, you could do that. He was like, go and sign it. I was like, don't be silly. He was like, no, go do it. He was like, seriously. He was like, I was like, no, I haven't got the money for it. I was like, I haven't got the money. And he was like, take it with Libby. Message Libby, so my daughter. And so I actually ended up phoning it and I went, look, there's this course. And she was like, Mum, if you want to do it, do it. I'll send you over some of the money. She was getting on a plane. She was on her way to Italy.
She's always getting on a plane.
I know.
She's living the dream.
So your son knew that you would succeed in this business.
He
that
could
you knew
see it.
you had all the qualities.
Yeah. And I think that's what sealed the deal for me because he is so cautious and like questions everything. He's not a big risk taker at all. But for him to hear it and say, you know what, I can see you doing that. He was like, this would be perfect for you.
Gave you the confidence.
Yeah. And I just thought, oh, okay, well, if Laura thinks I can and he thinks I can.
It must be real. So Laura, question. When you came to Fatima with the idea, had you taken on a property then? Yeah or not?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I think that was, I want to say maybe February, March time. And then we got our first property in May.
Okay. So you started together, clean slate, no properties.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, this goes back to me not doing my research purposely because I wanted to...
I like how you're covering that up.
Yeah.
Good.
No.
Purposely.
I'm
couldn't be bothered.
I want to feel the vibe, man. I want to feel the vibe.
Yeah. All right, Alex, go on with it.
I'm guessing, I'm feeling...
Right.
Okay.
that you are branding yourselves as quite a high-end serviced accommodation business?
Why would you question that?
Is it a luxury brand? Is that what you're going for?
No, we're going for a corporate brand.
Corporate luxury? High end?
High end.
It's high end. It's like good quality, but accessible and what's the word? Approachable, I guess, to everyone. Like it's not stuffy.
Yeah.
It's not like right up there luxury.
What we're going for is not a brand necessarily for tourists, but a brand for companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where our direction is.
So like clean, transparent. You've got everything you need.
Yeah.
You're well catered for,
and
it's like a nicer level than some of the copy and paste people that you get. So it's like up from that.
But you thought luxury because you thought the whole pretty idea. That's where that came from.
I mean, it's an image.
Yeah.
It's a brand thing. It's a very nice brand. It's a very nice image, and it's just what you.
Well, we're actually. I mean,
do you want something hot off the press that nobody else knows?
Yes, I do, but not yet. Save it.
Oh my God, he's got patience.
Save it, because we've skipped a whole part in the middle.
Oh, we've thrown you off your.
You've thrown me off my. I'm even less prepared than I was 20 minutes ago now. But I want to know the biggest problem that people have in this business, right, is, as you know, is sourcing properties, right? It's very difficult. It's a very challenging market, dealing with agents, dealing with landlords, trying to get those properties over the line.
It can be.
It can be. And I want to know how you experienced that journey. How did you start? Was it through agents? Was it through landlords? Was it through networking? How did it happen? How did it feel? Was it easier for you with this whole brand? Was it more challenging? Did people take you serious? Did people maybe not take you serious like you alluded to earlier?
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you got to where you are today, which is with a reasonably large, successful business in service accommodation with quite a few properties. How did that journey look? And who's the deal maker here? Who's out there doing the networking, or are you together?
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit more of the reverse psychology side of things. I like to read people a bit more. So
I'm like, fine, I go talk to them.
Yeah.
Or she's like, I'm just going to have to talk to them.
I find it a challenge and I like it. So.
Yeah. Because I get a bit peopled out sometimes. Like, I'll go and do a few things and I'm like, okay, I've had enough.
Yeah. And if I hadn't gone into the direction I did, I would have gone into psychology. So for me, that's an interest. I like the way people tick and how I can kind of adapt to that.
I love that. It's huge, isn't it? Like the whole thing behind sales, psychology, getting people on side, getting them to trust you, like you, build relationships. It's such a big topic.
So we didn't get any of our houses through networking. We didn't, did we? No. Not a single one.
Okay.
And in terms of people struggling with getting accommodation, I think we struggled with our first house. And after that, we couldn't say no quick enough, to be honest. We had one every month, like literally setting up back to back. Right. And we have had to outsource houses because of lack of funds, not lack of properties.
So you mean selling on deals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think with the agents, although to begin with it was a bit of a struggle, but then once we'd kind of got our brand and we were out there, and then it is a little bit, once you get a good agent, hang on to them, don't tell anyone, don't share them.
Yeah. I think the problem is don't bullshit. And I think that without being just...
Transparency is such a huge thing
It's
for us.
a big thing. If you're at the bottom, tell them you're at the bottom. If you're starting off, tell them you're starting off. Yeah. Because as honest as you can be, they will appreciate that more. They'll read right through you. If you're reading a script, they will read right through that. They'll see right through it. They'll be like, no.
Because our first landlord, that was through an agent to begin with, and then he had actually picked up our email address off of an email forwarding from them, and he was so unhappy with them that he then picked up the email address and got in touch with us directly, and then actually wanted to work with us because we were so authentic and real.
Yeah.
And then it actually turned out that I used to work with somebody who he was friends with, so he got a personal reference off of her and didn't want to do any company checks because it's like that reputation that you've got. Yeah. And that was probably 10 years prior in a completely different industry.
I think it's also really important to stay local, isn't it? Know your area, because the thing is, you can be like, oh, well, it's really good down Manchester, it's really good down wherever. But the amount of problems that are going to arise when you're first starting out and the lack of connections that you're going to have, why are you adding more struggle to an already stressful situation? So with us, it was like, oh, do you live here often? Oh, do you live here often? Do you like, where did you come from, etc. I used to live around the corner. Well, I was born down there. You know, so it's all
you're touching
relations.
on some, and it's a subject that I'm really very interested in. I think there's some basic things you can do when you're speaking to agents, landlords, in networking meetings that can immediately make you stand out from the crowd. For example, so many people come out of training courses with their scripts, right? Pick up the phone, the person answers the phone, it's like, hey, I'm calling about 123 Smith Street, do you do a company let? And it's like, no, have some conversation first, right? Build some rapport, find some things in common, talk about anything, especially if you're direct to landlord and you're at a property speaking to the owner. Find anything to talk about for the first 10 minutes other than the immediate deal, right? Find some things in common, whether it's the weather, whether it's the car they drive, whether it's the holiday they just took.
Yeah,
kids,
100%,
Talk about anything. And
we've
then
taken
slowly
donuts, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've like just dropped off random donuts to people and stuff. You've got to be memorable, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're not good on the phone, don't pick up the phone. Go in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because there's nothing, they've already had 6 calls asking about the same property for the same thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing out of all those 6 calls that's going to make you stand out if you haven't got a chat.
Yeah, yeah.
So go in, let them see who you are, then you can phone them for the next 3 days.
Just put a face
and they'll be
to
like,
the name.
yeah, do you remember he came in, keeps coming in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's obvious stuff if you know it, if you understand that. If you don't, then it's like, wow, this is amazing advice. And it's like, well, not really. Just go into the shop, be confident, strong handshake, have a business card, be prepared, know what you're talking about. It's basic stuff to be taken seriously.
I think I'd say to somebody struggling as well, it can be scary if you're not a naturally chatty person. But worst case is, they're not going to remember you. Yeah. So unless you go in and be that person, they're not going to remember you anyway. Exactly. So don't worry about it.
Exactly.
And it might not be the right industry for you if you're not that person.
Yeah, or get a business partner that has got that skill set and you do the other stuff.
Because it is 100%. If someone likes you and you can relate to them or they can relate to you, the percentage of them potentially making a crap complaint about something is going to be reduced, even if you didn't make the beds. You know, we've gotten out of stuff like that, haven't we? When we've had missed cleans and stuff like that because we've gone, we're really sorry, go to the pub, go for dinner. We've gone around in our cars, picked up people and taken them to different houses.
We had a system issue with the double booking. We'd just moved channel managers and then it hadn't got transferred over. So yeah, we literally picked them up. 12 kids, put them across 2 houses.
4 teachers.
Drove them around viewings. It was just wild, but we got a 5-star review out of it.
And you know what? That comes back to something you said a minute ago, staying local.
Yeah.
Right? We're huge on that.
Local.
Stay within your 30 minutes of where you live because you cannot, I don't care who the management company is.
No.
No one is going to care about your business as much as you do. They're not going to be going and doing spot checks. They're not going to be dealing with stuff like you just said.
Yeah. And that was a management company as well. Like we treat our management properties probably better than we treat our own properties.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have to be available 24/7. You have to, like we did a clean, didn't we? Last week, we had to go in and do an emergency clean because the VA had messed up, and neither of our 3 cleaning teams could go in and do this clean. We had 2 hours to clean a 5-bedroom house.
Wow!
And to go to Lynn and do it. Obviously, we did it.
Yeah.
But that you can only do that because you support each other. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why this works. If Laura had said, it's too much work for me, I'm going out to the shops, can you deal with it on yourself? The whole thing falls apart. Right? So that's the reason why you've been able to get to where you are today, by supporting each other. So another question I've got is, you came together to build this business, both coming out of careers, right? You weren't entrepreneurial you weren't coming out of businesses that you'd already owned and built, right? So how did you find moving into that world of all of a sudden running your own business, dealing with tax, invoices, VAT, How did that work? Was that a difficult transition? There's
definitely been struggles and we're still going through things now. And I think because we took on so many properties so quickly, it became quite reactive and now we're trying to be more proactive. I have got experience in business, but massive, like tens of thousands of employees, big. So it's a completely different to starting your own business. Mum and dad have always had their own business as well. So you see bits of it, but nothing prepares you for
the
actually
side.
your own
business.
Yeah.
That's what it is, isn't it? It's those nights where you think, shit,
Absolutely.
what are we going to do?
Yeah. And it's a struggle as well, like keeping yourself accountable. And I think we're much better now, but that's a learn for us to be more accountable.
It is. I think it's pros and cons to being friends because you let it slide. So you don't hold each other accountable as much.
Like she's got that going on, she's got that going on.
So we're very understanding. But sometimes if you're running a business and you're trying to make it successful, you shouldn't be understanding. You should kind of be like, these are the expectations. This is our friendship. This is our work hat. And we're better at that now, aren't we? In terms of, okay, I've said I'm going to do this. I will do this.
It's a really tough line because you know each other's personal lives.
Yes.
That you wouldn't know if you're just working together.
Yeah. And there's no judgment, is there? Like, if I have to pick up the slack, I do. If you have to pick up the slack, you do. I went to bloody Canada and she had to set up a whole house by herself because we were literally... Did we have a booking coming in and we got the keys?
Yeah,
and it was
so I tend to do this thing, don't I? We'll get a house and then I'm like, so we've got a booking in like 3 days?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. But we like a tight deadline.
Yeah,
it works.
but the night before I flew...
Yeah, we got a house.
Yeah, and I literally got the keys and I moved all the heavy furniture so that everything was in the house, wasn't it? So you didn't have to move anything heavy by yourself. And people are like, well, why? How are you still doing all of this yourself? Why are you not employing people?
We love setting up a house.
Because the amount of money it's going to cost us to set up a house or to pay to someone to set up, that's our next property.
True.
So, well, I mean, I'm not in the millions yet, and if someone else is, good for them.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
When you're starting a business, you want to try and trim as much fat as possible, right?
And also, who do you trust? That's the thing you said with business. Who do you trust that's going to do your business the way you're going to do your business? And if we haven't looked at every single corner of that house, at every single spoon or fork or hairdryer, how do we know someone else is going to bother?
Yeah.
And we like to put our own stamp on them as well. Like I think our style is quite different to what other people are doing in the market. So
I have free labour as well with the kids, so they get
friends we rope in, family.
Get everyone involved. Free labour, right? Who doesn't like free labour?
Yeah.
So I'm also interested to know, you could, I don't know if you have, built a big social following, like a big brand on social media. Are you quite heavy on the socials? Have you used that to your advantage, or have you tried to?
We go up and down a bit, don't we?
Yeah, I think we've learned that you can either have one or the other, right? So here's my thing with that. I want to have a large business. I want to leave a legacy for the kids.
Okay.
Like, I want to make something. I mean, do I want to show the whole world what I'm doing? Not really, no.
The thing is, the things we have showed people or that people have access to, people have started copying us, like down to how is their website laid out? What are their properties called? How do they dress? What are they wearing? Do
you find that as quite a compliment though?
It is and it isn't. Like, to be honest, at first we were a bit like, and now we're just like, we'll just do it. We'll just keep doing it better. Don't worry. But we're constantly elevating ourselves.
I think you have to be very brave and have a lot of time on your hands to be able to do both, to juggle both things, because I don't know how people do it. Like, and when I'm not involved in the business, because I've actually just left my other job and got another job. So I'm still working part-time. Laura's still working 4 days still, aren't you? Which is, it may as well be full-time.
Yeah.
And then I've got the kids, so I've got responsibility to still being a mum. So what time do I use to have a social media presence? So we have it here and there when we're setting up. We try and keep it very realistic. But I think if you have to decide. You've got to either be in property or you've got to become more, if you want to have more of a training following and things like that, then that's fine. You should do that. And we're not at that stage. We've not developed our business enough yet.
And like, there are marketing companies and things that we could employ to do that, but we're not that big and out there. We're quite private people as well. We'd much rather just keep working and keep growing.
I think it's really
surprise everyone.
I think it's really admirable. I know, work quite hard to say. what you said about keeping it realistic, because one of my bugbears in this world, I've got the feeling yours too, is like the bullshit that goes around on social media, right? The jets, the cars, you know, the houses all leased, you know, for that day when they could shoot some content, and it's all off the back to sell some courses, right? And sucking people in. But I think things are changing, and I think my feeling is that people are getting tired of that. They're starting to smell the bullshit. And the people who are genuine, authentic, documenting not only the good, but also the bad, are starting to attract the followings, because people are getting tired of it.
Yeah, and everybody does the same thing as well. It's boring.
It's like that whole Victorian model syndrome. Not everyone's like that. There's so much more, and there's so much more to the world. What you're putting out there, there are so many people that are so gullible that they're going to take it in and they're going to think that's right. And it's not okay. It really frustrates me. And I think when we do our small videos on socials, we try and show how hard we work, because it is bloody hard. I haven't got Bank of Mummy and Daddy, and neither has Laura. So what we're doing out of our own pockets, and in order to try and build something that 90% of the time you have so much negativity and doubt around, because the people around you don't understand the process or the way the business works. So you don't own any of their houses. Like
they just don't get it.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to have someone in your life that supports you in your dream. And that's all, I think we do that for each other. And then now we've got like our families on board, and like the kids.
They're seeing what we're doing. I mean, they still do question it sometimes.
You haven't really made any money yet.
Why haven't you made so much money yet? Well, actually, it's a process, because we've set up so many houses quite quickly. So, and you've got to pay it back. So it's
and we've had
to pay off now.
We've had bad houses that we've had to like take the year to make the loss and go, this isn't working. Let's get rid. So we've got rid now. And
it's about learning, isn't it? So, and it still is a business as well. And the majority of businesses actually fail within year 1 or year 2.
Absolutely.
So for anyone that's made it past 2 years, congratulations. Like, we're just coming up to that mark now, and we can see it actually, this is going to pay off. And prior to that is peaks and troughs.
So that's amazing, and thanks for being honest. I mean, and again, it comes back to being authentic. I think in the long run, that's going to help you have more success, grow bigger, get a bigger following, attract more people. That honesty and vulnerability. So you said that you gave some properties back. What were some of the reasons behind why that happened? I understand that when you're starting in this business, you go through the challenges of trying to get started, then you get a bit of traction, and then it's really hard to say no when you start getting offered stuff.
We were just like, we'll take it, we'll take it.
So it's like, take it. So is that what happened? And then you went live and realised...
Our mindset was very different, wasn't it? I think back then it was like, we don't know when we're going to get the next house, so let's take it. Now we know if we want a house, we'll get it. So we haven't actively been looking for houses, even though we're setting up 3 in the last, we've
3
just
this month.
This month, So, but we, at the end of last year, we were a bit like, we don't want one yet. We don't need it. So, but if
you're now in control, it sounds like.
We're like, when we say, okay, let's do a house now. And then one just magically.
Amazing.
Or 3.
It is relations though. We've got really good relations with people who then recommend us to other people. So if we need it, we'll put the word out there to say, look, we need it. And we're very fussy now in terms of things. If we don't think it's going to work, we won't take it. Right. It's really funny though, because we will be offered a house that, or we'll say to one of our agent friends, and we'll be like, look, we need a house. And he'll be like, I've got one, but I don't think it's suitable for you. And we're like, well, he's like, well, have a look. And he goes, I've got an offer on it, but I'll pay them off if you want it. And I was like, okay, cool. So we're going to have a look. And it's really weird, the dynamic of the house, but we love it. We're like, we'll take it. And the house does really well.
But I think going back to your previous thing, when we've had a house that hasn't worked, it's not always like, everybody's big houses are amazing, but check your location. Don't get swept up in what everybody else is saying, because other people are in different areas. Absolutely. What works in one won't work in another.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said a little while back that it's mostly corporates, right? Yep. So when you're taking the bigger properties, are you switching to more contractors, or are you sticking strictly with?
I mean, I looked at our calendar this last couple of weeks, and we only, because obviously November, December, January is very quiet periods. The only thing that got us through those were all of our direct contract bookings. So we work on those quite a lot, don't we? Not as much as we should be working on those, but we've held on to the ones that we have had for the whole year. So they've gone through well. That's one of our kind of to-dos that we haven't done is lead generation.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to put some more effort into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very cool.
But we've got a high conversion. So when we get them through the OTAs, like Fatima's amazing at converting them to a direct booking, and then we just keep them. So
yeah, it's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, appreciating the honesty here about the fact that it's not all roses, right? Business is difficult. This business, any business, doing your own thing, taking it to bed with you at night. It's always there, right?
I think don't saturate it. That's the big thing. Don't try, because we've done that, haven't we? We've tried to do 10 different things. So when you're applying yourself, you're saturated in everything you're doing. So you're never going to be 100%
to each thing.
So decide what you're going to do. Stick to that. So if you think, right, I want to learn enough to become a mentor or a trainer, just do that then.
Okay.
If you think I want to do property so I can build a massive portfolio, just do that then.
Yeah. And even if it's right, I've done that. Okay, now I've got a bit more extra time because I've got that in a really good place and running smoothly.
Yeah.
Now I can take on that bit. Don't try and take on like it all at once.
So the old shiny penny syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, magpies
Shiny penny.
chasing all the different shiny strategies.
Well, we've done it ourselves.
Yeah.
I think everybody has to a certain extent. But you find what gels with you, right? What fits, what comes naturally, and then you're right, just stick with that. So with that being said, with hindsight now that you're 2 years in, right? What do you feel like you could have improved, done differently? What would have helped you get to where you want to get quicker?
I think it's very hard, right? Because the thing is, because there's just the two of us doing it, and then doing everything else as well is very, as I said, we were very saturated, and the speed we did everything at. In an ideal world, we would have had more time to look at every single part of our system, every cost that was coming in, every cost that was going out, track everything properly, which is what we do now. But back then we didn't.
It was so reactive that it was like, okay, we've got a house, great, let's focus on that. And then, we need to do this, and then we need to do this.
Yeah.
And close your mind to all that.
Yeah.
And both of us, I think we're like, do 80, 90%, and we've both been guilty of not doing the last 10%.
Finishers, yeah.
So like with our assistants now, we know when we hire people, they have to be completed finishers because that's a bad area for both of us.
I think you have to understand your personality traits, what you're good at. So we will get together now and we'll write everything down on a board. We'll be like, this is what you need to do, this is what I need to do, this is what we're not doing, this is our strength, these are our weaknesses, and we're very honest with it. So who do we need to find that is going to fill this gap? We fill, I think, like 95% of it between the two of us, but there's that last 5% of getting it over the... So like houses,
just the little pinicky bits at the end, because we're so like capable.
Bored,
we are really capable, but we're like, okay, we've done it. Now let's do this. We got
to a stage where we were doing 95% of a setup of a house, and then we just had to finish it off, and we'd just spend a few days just dilly-dallying in the house. Just
one house we just kept sitting in and just like setting the right stuff.
Move that wire a bit.
That's interesting. So a couple of obvious things that I pick up from there is that you're really aware and good at knowing what your weaknesses are and outsourcing that stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think holds so many people back, trying to be perfect at everything, which I don't understand, because all you've got to do is look at so many of the famous entrepreneurs, right? Like the Richard Bransons and these guys. Yeah. They're the visionary people, right? They have the ideas, and then they just surround themselves with people that makes that stuff
will
happen.
Do it,
Right?
But you know they're natural characters, don't you? You know it's natural to them. It's not learned. And I don't think you can learn personality. I don't think you can be an introvert and then learn how to be an extrovert. I think it comes to you naturally through life experiences. That's what...
Do you think that comes from... like... Yeah, I guess where I'm going... is that who you are? Can it be learned through a job or a career or a certain lifestyle, or you've either got it or you've not? Because the only reason I'm going there is I've spent 20 years living overseas, working. I was a scuba diving instructor for 10 years, working with guests every day. I was on super yachts for 10 years, dealing with owners, crew. So my whole life has been talking, keeping people on side, building relationships. I don't know whether that's just who I am. People tell me I'm good at it. I don't know if that's who I am or I've learnt it.
Yeah,
What's your opinion on that?
I think it's probably who you are, but maybe you've tweaked it as you've gone through and you thought, oh, that's a really good way to do X because I got Y result. So you've maybe like honed your skill over the years doing it.
I have 3 children. So 2 of them are extroverts and 1 is an introvert. And it doesn't matter what I do. I can't change the personality of the introvert. It doesn't matter what experiences. Like all of us are extroverts. So you've got me, you've got his sister, and then you've got his brother. And my youngest is autistic, but he's still an extrovert, isn't he? He's not like shy. He's very chatty. He'll have a full conversation about football with you. But the middle one is just, he's an introvert. He's very quiet. And some of my friends, when on the odd occasion, they'll come to the house and he'll have a chat and he'll be like, wait to me.
I think it took me about 2 years before I actually had a conversation with, and I'm like, he's smiling at me today. He's smiling.
Yeah, I get that. And I just don't think, it doesn't matter. And I've pushed him. Don't think I haven't. I've been like, go do this, go do that, go do that, go do that. And nothing has changed that personality.
Back to realising what are your strengths and what is your skill set, and just being accepting of that's him as a person. We are who we, and I think that's 100%. A massive thing for us that we've learned over the last couple of years as well. We don't have to try and fit in a box, because especially in corporate world, they want you to be a certain thing or a certain type, and actually that's not you. Just be your true authentic self and keep learning and growing.
Because there is that thing, isn't there? And I don't know really what it is, but there's certain people, and I would put you 2 in this category. When you walk into a room, there's like a force, like an energy. You know those people are there, right? Everybody knows that person's walked into the room. And I don't really know what that thing is. I don't know whether it's something that's...
the energy of a person.
Yeah.
The aura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But coming back to what you said, I've been with people before who are trying to get into this space and they can't even look you in the eye, right? They're so shy and introverted. There is no way. It doesn't matter how many training courses they go on, how many networking meetings they go to, if they can even go to one. Yeah. They're never going to get that deal because they don't have that specific set of skills, but they have a huge amount of skills over here.
Yeah.
Right? Analytics, spreadsheets, business, hacks, deep dive analysis, which I am absolutely useless at. I'm like, that's a nice house. There's a train station. That'll work. Yeah. Job done. Yeah. Right? But you need someone to reel you in and be like, look, what can we pay for this place? What's the cost? What's the outgoings? Let's calm down. So it's about recognising them strengths and not beating yourself up about what you don't have, recognising what you do have.
I think age plays a big part in...
Wisdom.
Yeah. in the time you become less apologetic for who you are. So I try and
100%.
We both live our lives very ethically and morally, and we now embody who we are, and we're not apologetic about it. Before, you unknowingly intimidate people, even though you're the nicest person. Like we think we're the nicest people because we're
very scary.
Yeah,
he was so scared before we started as well.
Shaking. Won't lie.
But sometimes we have, like before, we wouldn't do it now, but it's almost like we've shrunk ourselves because of the people around us can't handle it. And it's now, we're not doing that. Like we are who we are, take it or leave it. Like nobody should change themselves for somebody else.
Yeah, and now if I think to myself, if you don't pay attention, if I walk into a room, what am I doing wrong? So it's a whole different, your mindset just becomes very, very different. I may not have a penny in my pocket, but I have self-respect and I have morals and I have ethics, and that means so much more. Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I left, I had a conversation with my ex-boss and I said to him, I said, the thing is, I said, I was succeeding in my career. Don't get me wrong. I said, I was doing really well, but I realised I was failing as a parent. And I said, if I'm failing as a parent, I'm failing at everything. So you have to set that you have to stop raising to expectations of others, set your expectation of who you want to be. And once you reach that level, with everything else, you'll succeed naturally. I think education is key. Don't get me wrong. The more you learn, the more confidence you grow. However, as I said, you cannot learn personality. It doesn't happen.
I feel like I could sit here and talk to you for literally hours, and we're already like 50 minutes in.
Age and wisdom.
There's some really interesting stuff there. Something else that I want to just try and squeeze into this. Your parent, right? How do you find the time management side for both of you? Something I struggle with is when you work for yourself, is keeping the structure within your life, right? Business, family, having any kind of a social life, finding that cut-off line of saying, okay, enough's enough, I'm going to close the laptop. How do you manage your time? What's your tips and tricks around that? Is there anything that kind of comes to mind, or you just...
I like a bit of calendar blocking. So like every day, I hate this word, my non-negotiables, I go to the gym and I walk the dog. And I always set my day up in the morning. I get up, even if I have to get up and I've had like half an hour less sleep, I get up and I journal and I like look at, right, what are my priorities for the day? Sometimes every now and again it all goes to pot, but I think when you've got like a good structure, then even if everything else is going to pot, like when we're setting up a house or we're running to like 5 different networking events in a row, then you've got good habits to fall back on. So it's okay if it goes a bit to pot every now and again.
I mean, I have no structure. When it comes to...
Structureless.
Yeah, completely.
You say that, but no, you've got the dog walk, you've got the gym.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There are my kind of... I do that like 6:30 in the morning when everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
We both do. We both get up early to fit it in. That's another thing. Get up early.
Get up early.
When it comes to how do I balance time between work and children, you can't. It's insanity. And the people that think you can only guilt trip yourself for so long. I can sit at home and I can live on off benefits and I can be the best mum and I could be there. But what example am I setting for my children? Zero. That it's okay to lounge about in your dressing gown all day. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Or do I show them that this is what you get after the effort you put in? So I said to my son once, I go and dig a hole in the garden. I don't remember what it was for, and I went out with him and we did it together and he moaned and groaned. And I said, the thing is, understand, I will never make you do something I wouldn't do with you myself. So live by the example that I'm setting you. I don't know. I feel guilty and I think, oh God, I haven't spent enough time. But I'm very fortunate because, not fortunate, that's not the right word. With Izzy, he is who he is and he's going to live with me forever. But he's a part of the team, isn't he?
Oh, he's always like, we bring him shopping, he helps set up the houses. Yeah. He just comes everywhere. He comes to some of our network lunches. Like, it's great.
Yeah, he said to me last night, I said,
you've prepared him.
I was exhausted. So I came in and I said, oh, I'm so tired. I just want to say, Mum, it's getting quite annoying you keep saying that.
He's so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but then he heard me on the phone to Laura talking about the job that I'm covering for at the moment. And he was in the toilet where he shouted and he went, I'm so proud of you, Mum. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
He says everything that you have to remember your kids are probably thinking. Whereas my older two may not voice it as much. And I always feel like they're giving me shit. But
Oh, that's beautiful. Support either way.
Yeah.
And what would you say to people? I speak to a lot of people, right, that say, I want to get out of my job. I wish I had that. I wish I could do what that person does. I wish I was as smart as them. I wish I had their money, that car, da-da-da-da-da. And it's all that, I wish. Yeah. And you say, well, you could do that. You could do this. Here's the steps that you need to start implementing. But they just don't want to start because it's something inside. It's like a confidence thing. They're insecure.
They don't want it enough.
They don't believe they can do it. So there's 2 inspirational business women, right, that are building something significant. Yeah. What's your advice to the mum, right, potentially, who's sitting at home, feeling swamped, feeling overwhelmed, feeling insignificant, not knowing where to turn, mortgages going through the roof, cost of living grinding them down, right? Where do you start? How do you start that journey?
Step 1. You've just got to write it all down. Step 1. The thing is, I've been there. That's been me. So I can, and I still, there are some odd days where I'm a bit like, really hard. But I know I have enough skill sets, so I've always tried to educate myself with different things. If I'm not doing a class, I'm doing a course, or I'm doing something like, you know, I aesthetics industry 24 years, dental nursing over COVID, you know, just now telecoms communication company, like, and it's like the more, because I had doubts now, because Laura's intelligent, she's very book smart. I'm not like that, so I'm not book smart, whereas I'm more a practical visual learner. So Laura can absorb a lot. She's like, my daughter's exactly the same. So,
I did my master's. It should have taken 4 years, but I did it in a year because I can just...
What?
Whilst working full-time as well. But,
what?
Yeah, like I can just do stuff.
So you're
like
literally a genius?
I mean, no.
And we're still reading the pop-up picture books.
No, but this is one of the things, you say stuff like this and you did have the doubts at first, and I was like, you don't see like the amazingness that you can create, and I think now you do see that. Yeah. Because we both see, and I think we both big each other up as well.
I still know I'm shit at numbers.
But no, you can do mental arithmetic well. You just can't do spreadsheets because then your eyes go funny. But that's
we'll get that times table into our heads at some point.
No.
But again, it's all about balance.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
I've got Laura.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The human calculator.
Yeah. I've got Laura. I've got like Libby. She's quite good at maths as well. So
you're fine.
Izzy tells me now, because he's had a great tutor, and I think this is it, mentorship. It's so important. Yeah. So Izzy's is a prime example for this. So he's 14 years old, gone through school, and he's been a tick box. He's got developmental delays, genetic disorder, immune system issues, blah, 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 blah. He struggles every day of his life, and it's painful to watch it. And he goes to school, and he's less than everyone there. So in his year, he's in year 10 now. The teacher's like, he's never going to sit his exams, he's never going to do this, he's never going to do that. And we have a group that we belong to, and there's a maths tutor that arrived in that one day, and she said, I'm the best maths tutor in the world. I can teach anyone. Yeah. And I just went, teach Izzy. I was like, I doubt it. And I kid you not, he went to her for 3 days, for half an hour, 40-minute lessons. She came running out to me, she went, your kid's a genius. I'm sitting in Costa thinking, you're insane. You absolutely lost the plot. And because he was struggled with 2 add 3. Right. He's a 14-year-old boy.
Right.
It was just his memory just would not comprehend those 2 numbers or 3-digit numbers or 2-digit numbers or anything.
Is that like a dyscalculia?
I think it's dyscalculia, but he has a developmental delay. So he's got a genetic disorder called White-Sutton syndrome, and that just means he just doesn't pick things up. Like whereas at football, he can tell you what player is what and things like that. So it's really,
when he's interested as well. He's just so focused on it. Yeah. So he's got that hyper focus.
So she said he's learned, she goes, I've tried with him and nothing. She goes, but what I've realised, he's got photographic memory. And she was, I swear this one was jumping up and down. And she said, look, so each number has a pattern. So she showed me how they show this pattern. And she said to Izzy, right, Izzy, what's this is this? And he just went, and he wrote it down and he added it up.
Wow.
And the next week, when he saw he was doing 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers. But just from that, he now tells me he's got a photographic memory. He's like, yeah, well, I know because I have a photographic memory. So it's not the fact that he may suddenly now be, like she said to me, he's supposed to sit his GCSEs next year. She said he will 100% do his GCSE. Awesome. Whereas the school has
perhaps never thought that he'd be able to.
No.
So it was about accessing the way that he needed to learn, like that part of his brain that was different.
But it's given him the confidence to think, for him to say, I can. He's only had a few lessons with her because of our timings. I've not been able to take him back. He's starting again on Friday. But just with those few lessons and someone having that belief in you, he's gone from going, he doesn't understand money. I can't send him to the shop. You know, he just can't do that. He can't go and, he doesn't understand what a pound is. He doesn't understand the value of anything. So I have to phone the shop and tell them that he's coming and this is what he's bringing and can you...
You know what you're doing right now? I'm sitting here thinking as you're explaining that, it literally sounds like Richard Branson's like childhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you not see, so recently though, because you know he's dyslexic, right? Richard Branson, like he needs his secretary, does like the when they check into a hotel, has to do the reading and writing, but he's also completely like numbers. So he was in a meeting, I don't know if you saw it, he was in a meeting with his, the guy's got 400 odd companies now. he was in a meeting and they were talking about numbers, talking about figures, and they were talking about net and gross. And Richard made a comment that made his accountant immediately realise that Richard had no idea the difference between net and gross. So he went over to Richard and he said, Richard, can I have a word outside? They went outside and he said to him, and you can look this up on YouTube, he said, Richard, you don't know the difference between net and gross, do you? And he said, I've got no idea. And they're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of pounds. And his accountant literally took out some like pens and paper, drew the sea with like coloured pens, and drew a guy with a fishing net with a fish in it. And he said, Richard, you see the fishing net with the fish in it? He said, that's your net. And he said, everything else around it, the ocean, that's gross. And he was like,
got it.
Makes sense. So that's how he understands. But like I said before, he's the guy who just surrounds himself with the people who know what net and gross is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, plug the gaps. Where you haven't got the right skill sets, plug the gap. Yeah. And also as well, like you're saying with Izzy at school, he's not recognised, he's not valued.
No.
Go where you're valued. Yeah. Like if you're sat at home and you're struggling, remove yourself from an environment where you're not happy, you've got it within you. So it's just how bad do you want it? If you want it bad enough, you'll go and find a way.
This boy, as soon as he knew he was... had a photographic memory. I remember I was upstairs and I said, Izzy, I need to connect your laptop to the Wi-Fi. And you know, utility warehouse Wi-Fi's are like 16-digit long. I remembered all that. And he went, I'm coming up. And I said, look, can you just shout it out? And he was like, no. And he came up and he just recited the whole thing for me. And I was like... Yeah, so he's obviously...
It's like one person has sparked his whole thing.
I have a photographic memory. It's like
Sounds like one to watch. Sounds like one to watch. All right, let's try and wrap this up. Like I said, I could sit here and talk for days. This is really interesting and exciting. I've got loads of questions, but where are you trying to get to? What's the vision? What's the drive? Is it legacy? Is it financial freedom? Do you want to travel? Do you want to just not have to work and lay around and watch Jeremy Kyle? What's the drive? Where are you trying to get to?
All of that other than the Jeremy Kyle.
Yeah. All of that minus Jeremy Kyle.
We're both like to keep busy and doing things. I don't think we'd ever not be able to do anything. But last year, we did it for 2 weeks from the beach and then from Ireland. So if we can do that and have that flexibility, that freedom,
so you're
and
trying
the security
to build
for kids, family.
An empire that's as systemised and automated as possible.
Yes.
At the same time.
And just building in the right teams to help support us with that as well, which we are doing.
I know, it's a lot of people say to us, you don't network and you don't come out and you don't do this. And I'm just like...
We do it every now and again.
But I've got stuff to do. I've got if I come out and come network, who's going to look at all the systems and the business and stuff? How are we going to do that?
and I think, I believe me, I completely understand the power of networking, being out there, building
it definitely has its place.
I do, but at the same time, I think some of the most successful people, they're just at home doing their thing. And they don't feel the need to have to go out and tell everyone and build because they're doing it. However they're doing it, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be doing what everyone else is.
Look at all the most successful people in the world.
Yeah.
They're beavering away quietly. Yeah. They're not necessarily out there networking every evening. They just pop up here and there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, okay. But you do think that once you do, because it's obvious that you will, based on knowing you for an hour, build an empire, that's not going to see you sit back and go, okay, money's in the bank, let's take it easy. You're going to keep going, keep building, maybe go into different things, buying. I could see you owning hotel chains and stuff.
We definitely want to start
Luxury
owning
brands.
our own developments is something we talked about, commercial conversions. Yeah. World is our oyster.
Yeah.
We looked at developments a while ago, but we knew as a business, and it was literally offered to us on a platter. Yeah. But we just knew we weren't ready for it. Because the thing is, you can take on everything and then you can fail and that's your business gone.
And lose it all.
We're just really focusing on the service accommodation and the management aspect at the moment. And we know when we're ready for that, when the time's right, it will happen. There's everybody's always chasing stuff or rushing for the next thing. Enjoy the journey as well.
Okay. One last question I got. Well, actually, I got a couple.
Yes, you can do business with us.
Absolutely. Slip the old business card in. With you being women in business, what's the hardest thing that you've experienced? I would imagine that there's a lot of benefits.
The girls. The girls.
So
that's what they call us. The girls.
No, it's when the girls are here.
I think they think we're like young 20-somethings dilly-dallying around, and
I think, who are you talking to?
we're not.
So
we're in
not
our
being
30s,
taken
40s.
seriously.
Yeah, we've both got. Yeah.
Sexiness? No, that's not that.
Sexist.
Sexist.
Sexism?
Sexism, that's it. Sexiness? Sexism.
The judgments.
Yeah.
Judgments. Does that drive you more to prove them wrong?
Yeah, because I think we both like to, like your judgment of us was pretty wrong. And we always like to, okay, they can think that. We're just going to keep shocking people and surprising people.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's a brand in itself, right? Like trailblazing, proving people wrong. That's really, really inspiring. I'd imagine that there's a lot of people that are inspired by that and just getting out there and getting it done. Amazing, amazing stuff. Right, I've got one final question.
Oh, gosh.
And ask for a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of honesty here.
Oh, God, okay.
More honesty.
More honesty. We are big advocates around mental health.
Yeah.
Right? Per myself, I think it's way more prevalent than what people like to talk about. I've personally had my issues, my anxieties, my troubles, my depressions, relationships, traumas, business, all kinds of stuff. And I think it's really important to talk about it, be honest about it. Life's hard, business is hard, relationships are hard, family's hard, everything's hard. So today, right now where we are, at this stage in your life, together and individually really, being honest and being vulnerable for a second, would you say that right now, based on everything that you've been through, done, and where you are today, are you happy?
Yes, now. Last year I was depressed, fully. Like, it was a realisation, wasn't it?
Yeah. You've had that. I've had mental health issues up and down over the last couple of years. I had therapy. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And you found that you were learning stuff as well from my therapy sessions. But yeah, I'd say I'm happy now.
I think I was slightly perimenopausal last year as well, because there was something going on, whereas I was getting up from bed and I was tired, like constantly. And I was just constantly, and I was waking up really late. I could get up at like 10 or 11 o'clock, and which I'd always go up at 5:30 in the morning, and I was just miserable. I was an absolute hole, and I was just constantly just really just down, wasn't I? I used to walk around like just really crap all the time. And it wasn't until about 3 months ago, just it must have been November, end of November, I thought, I don't want to feel like this anymore. What's going on? So I thought, right, I'm just going to self-medicate with vitamins. Before you judge.
And gin and tonic.
And looked into menopause for women, etc. Did some research, got some tablets for perimenopausal, started taking like zinc, magnesium, and after about a month I finally snapped out of it, and I thought, oh my God. And it was understanding that I was like that, and understanding that you can go into a hole, and speaking about it. And I said to the kids, I said, I've been shit, like I've been absolutely shit, and I felt shit, and no more. I'm getting up again early in the morning, so I'm up at 5:30 every morning now. And you said to me the other day, didn't you? You said it was really weird, because she goes, it's really shocking every time you message me in the morning now, and you're very chirpy as well.
Yeah, because Pats was always like up till about midnight, whereas I go to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock, because I get up at 4. And then
early too.
In the morning, and then when she messages me, I'm like, who is this person in the morning? Because we're both quite quiet, and like for the first hour, nobody's allowed to talk to us. But now I wake up, I'm just like ready to go. So it's addressing it. You have to address it. Don't ignore it. And it's okay to sit in those emotions as well. And I think one of the things, mine is overwhelm. And then when I get too overwhelmed, it's almost like, and I'm like, now I've got the tools where I can say, okay, I'm starting to feel this way. And let me just pause for a second. I'm going to pause that, and pause that. And let me do this. And then pick it back up. And I think being honest and talking about it with people, because
if you're in a partnership, be honest, because we'll say to each other, like, we're having a shit day.
We've got a safe word. So everybody needs a safe word in the partnership. Ours is pineapples. How do you know?
Yes, it is.
Because it makes it work if you don't know what it is.
It's because I haven't needed it for ages.
Yeah, we haven't actually used it. At one point, we were using it every day, because we were both so. And I think this time last year was probably the worst part for me. We used it so much.
You just reminded me. I completely forgot.
It was like pineapples, and then it just made you laugh a little bit. But I think having that relationship where you can be honest and vulnerable with a person, because we would both hide it previously from other people.
But now we'd literally just pick each other up and just sit in the car crying, wouldn't we, for ages? And the other would just be like, you bought me a blanket last time, didn't you?
It's the cuddle cushion.
Yeah. She went into the shop and she bought me a cuddle cushion.
And you brought me the stress ball. We were walking around the shop and I was ranting at her and she just brought it without me saying it. She was like, here you go. And I was like...
It's really good to. The only reason I asked the question is because I think there's so many people sitting at home beating themselves up just on social media, and everyone looks like they're flying, and it's a big misconception, right? So it's good to know that people who are out there doing it.
I spoke to somebody the other day and she was like, you lot are like flying, and I was like, I went through this last year, and she was like, I never would have guessed, because I think we are quite good at putting on a face.
I think it's worse for men though.
Yeah.
Like I generally feel for you more, because I think with men it's that whole perception of the breadwinner, the giver, the carer, the
protector. They have to hold it all in and push it down. Like the men in my family are like, you just push that down. Like you don't address it, and one day it's going to come up.
I think luckily, I think it is changing. There's more like men's groups and support groups and stuff where men can just kind of really open up. I've been on a couple and they're pretty amazing. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. It's something that everybody needs to talk about. So appreciate your honesty on that.
Anytime.
And it's been amazing.
Yeah, likewise.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
We're going to put all your information in the show notes so people can reach out and make contact. Wish you so much luck on your journey.
Thank you.
Really inspiring
thank you.
to see you just trailblazing the industry and doing it ethically as well. Not trying to be something you're not.
So important.
Being honest with where you are, and I think over the long term that's going to see you just take over. I'm expecting to see big things.
Amazing. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week on another episode of the Airbnb Nomads. Thanks for watching.